Chapter 1: A Humble Beginning. In the quaint village of Montreuil-sur-Mer, nestled amidst the rolling hills of northern France, Claude Gueux came into the world on a crisp autumn morning in 1804. His birth was not heralded by fanfare or celebration, but rather by the gentle rustle of leaves and the soft whispers of the wind. Born to humble parents, Claude entered a world marked by poverty and hardship, where every day was a struggle for survival. From a young age, Claude learned the value of hard work and perseverance. His father, a laborer in the local mill, toiled endlessly to provide for his family, while his mother tended to their modest home with unwavering devotion. Despite their meager circumstances, Claude's parents instilled in him a strong sense of dignity and resilience, teaching him to face life's challenges with courage and grace. As Claude grew, so too did his dreams. He harbored ambitions of a better life, fueled by the stories of adventure and opportunity that trickled into the village from distant lands. With each passing day, he longed to escape the confines of poverty and carve out his own path in the world. Yet, fate had other plans for Claude. As he reached adolescence, tragedy struck his family, leaving them reeling in its wake. A sudden illness claimed his father, leaving Claude and his mother to fend for themselves in a world that showed little mercy to the downtrodden. Determined to ease his mother's burden, Claude sought employment wherever he could find it. He worked odd jobs around the village, earning a meager wage that barely sustained their modest existence. Despite the hardships they faced, Claude and his mother clung to each other with unwavering love and support, finding solace in their shared struggle. It was during this time of hardship that Claude first crossed paths with Marie, a gentle soul with a heart as pure as the morning dew. Marie worked as a seamstress in the neighboring village, her nimble fingers weaving tales of beauty and grace with each delicate stitch. From the moment their eyes met, Claude knew that Marie was destined to play a special role in his life. Their courtship was marked by stolen glances and whispered confessions, their love blossoming like the first buds of spring. Together, they navigated the trials and tribulations of life, finding strength in each other's embrace. In Marie, Claude found a kindred spirit, a partner to share in life's joys and sorrows. As the years passed, Claude and Marie's love only grew stronger, a beacon of hope amidst the darkness that threatened to engulf them. Together, they dared to dream of a future filled with promise and possibility, where their love would conquer all obstacles in its path. And so, against the backdrop of a world plagued by poverty and despair, Claude Gueux embarked on a journey of love and resilience, guided by the steadfast belief that even the humblest of beginnings could give rise to greatness. Chapter 2: Love Found. In the tranquil village of Montreuil-sur-Mer, where the scent of wildflowers danced on the breeze and the golden sun bathed the rolling hills in a warm embrace, the love between Claude Gueux and Marie blossomed like a rose in bloom. Theirs was a love story whispered among the cobblestone streets, celebrated in the laughter of children playing in the village square, and woven into the fabric of their everyday lives. Claude, with his rugged charm and unwavering determination, found solace in the tender embrace of Marie, a beacon of light in the darkness that threatened to engulf him. From the moment their paths crossed, he knew that she was destined to hold a special place in his heart. Marie, with her gentle spirit and compassionate soul, saw beyond the hardships of Claude's life, recognizing the goodness that lay within. She welcomed him into her world with open arms, offering him the warmth and affection he had longed for since childhood. Their courtship was a dance of stolen glances and whispered confessions, their love blooming like the wildflowers that adorned the countryside. Claude would steal away moments from his day to visit Marie at the seamstress shop where she worked, his heart soaring at the sight of her smile. Together, they wandered the narrow streets of the village hand in hand, their laughter mingling with the rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze. They shared their hopes and dreams beneath the starlit sky, weaving fantasies of a future filled with love and happiness. As their love deepened, Claude and Marie found strength in each other's embrace, facing life's challenges with unwavering resolve. When hardship threatened to tear them apart, they clung to each other with fierce determination, refusing to let go of the bond that bound them together. Marie became Claude's pillar of strength, offering him comfort and support in times of need. In her, he found the courage to confront his fears and the inspiration to strive for a better life. Together, they weathered the storms that raged around them, their love shining bright like a beacon of hope in the darkest of nights. Their love was tested time and time again, as they faced trials and tribulations that threatened to tear them apart. But through it all, Claude and Marie remained steadfast in their devotion to each other, their love growing stronger with each passing day. In the embrace of their love, Claude and Marie found sanctuary from the harsh realities of the world, a place where they could be free to dream and love without fear. Together, they forged a bond that would withstand the test of time, a love that would endure for eternity. And so, amidst the tranquil beauty of Montreuil-sur-Mer, Claude Gueux and Marie found a love that transcended the boundaries of time and space, a love that would forever be etched in the annals of history as a testament to the power of love found. Chapter 3: A Turn of Events. As the seasons danced their eternal waltz in Montreuil-sur-Mer, Claude Gueux and Marie's love blossomed, casting a radiant glow upon their humble lives. But as fate would have it, their idyllic existence was soon to be shattered by a cruel turn of events that would test the strength of their love like never before. It was a day like any other when Marie fell gravely ill, her once vibrant spirit dimming like a flickering candle in the wind. Claude, filled with anguish at the sight of his beloved suffering, felt his world crumble around him. Every fiber of his being yearned to ease Marie's pain, to see her smile once more, but the cruel reality of their circumstances left him feeling powerless and desperate. With each passing day, Marie's condition worsened, her frail body weakened by the merciless grip of illness. Claude, consumed by fear and desperation, knew that he had to act quickly if he was to save the woman he loved. But in a world where the rich thrived and the poor languished in obscurity, the odds were stacked against him. Driven by love and fueled by desperation, Claude made a fateful decision that would forever alter the course of his life. With a heavy heart and a sense of dread gnawing at his conscience, he turned to desperate measures in a desperate bid to secure the means to heal Marie. In the dead of night, shrouded by darkness and consumed by desperation, Claude committed a crime that would haunt him for the rest of his days. In his quest to save Marie, he crossed a line that could never be uncrossed, forever staining his soul with the mark of his transgression. As dawn broke over Montreuil-sur-Mer, Claude returned home, his heart heavy with guilt and remorse. He had done the unthinkable in the name of love, but at what cost? As he gazed upon Marie's pale face, a sense of dread washed over him, for he knew that their lives would never be the same again. The days that followed were fraught with uncertainty as Claude grappled with the consequences of his actions. He watched helplessly as Marie's condition deteriorated, each passing moment driving home the harsh reality of his choices. Guilt gnawed at his conscience, tormenting him day and night as he struggled to come to terms with the magnitude of his mistake. But amidst the darkness that threatened to engulf him, there remained a flicker of hope. Deep within his heart, Claude clung to the belief that love would conquer all, that somehow, someway, they would find a way to overcome the obstacles that stood in their path. And so, as the shadows lengthened and the world grew ever darker, Claude Gueux stood at a crossroads, his fate hanging in the balance. Would his love for Marie be enough to redeem him in the eyes of the world, or would his actions condemn him to a life of regret and despair? Only time would tell, as Claude braced himself for the turbulent journey that lay ahead. Chapter 4: A Fatal Decision. In the heart of Montreuil-sur-Mer, where the sun cast its golden rays upon the cobblestone streets and the scent of freshly baked bread wafted through the air, Claude Gueux found himself teetering on the edge of despair. His beloved Marie lay gravely ill, her frail body consumed by the relentless grip of illness, and Claude knew that time was running out. Fueled by desperation and consumed by fear, Claude made a fateful decision that would forever alter the course of his life. With a heavy heart and a sense of dread weighing upon his soul, he set out into the night, his mind clouded by the magnitude of his actions. As he walked the familiar streets of Montreuil-sur-Mer, shadows danced around him, whispering tales of darkness and deceit. Claude paid them no heed, his thoughts consumed by a singular purpose: to save Marie at any cost. With each step he took, the weight of his decision grew heavier, like a burden too great to bear. But Claude pressed on, driven by love and fueled by desperation, until he reached the door of the local apothecary. With trembling hands and a pounding heart, Claude pushed open the door and stepped inside, the scent of herbs and potions filling his nostrils. The apothecary, a stern-faced man with eyes like flint, regarded Claude with suspicion as he approached, his gaze piercing through the darkness that shrouded Claude's soul. "What brings you here at this hour, Monsieur Gueux?" the apothecary inquired, his voice tinged with curiosity. Claude hesitated for a moment, his mind racing as he searched for the words to convey the depth of his desperation. "My beloved Marie is gravely ill," he finally confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "I need your help to save her." The apothecary's expression softened at Claude's words, his stern demeanor giving way to a glimmer of sympathy. "I see," he murmured, his eyes scanning the shelves of potions and remedies that lined the walls of his shop. "I may have something that could help, but it will cost you dearly." Claude's heart sank at the apothecary's words, for he knew that he had nothing of value to offer in return. But as he gazed into the apothecary's eyes, he saw a spark of something else: hope. Hope that he could save Marie, hope that their love could conquer all. And so, with a heavy heart and a sense of resignation, Claude made a fatal decision. He reached into his pocket and withdrew a small pouch containing the meager earnings of a lifetime of toil, laying it upon the counter with a trembling hand. "Please," he whispered, his voice barely audible above the pounding of his heart. "Do whatever it takes to save her." The apothecary regarded Claude for a long moment, his eyes betraying no hint of emotion. Then, with a solemn nod, he turned away and began to mix a potion that would either save Marie's life or seal Claude's fate. As Claude watched with bated breath, the apothecary worked his alchemy, his hands moving with a precision born of years of practice. And when the potion was finally complete, he handed it to Claude with a grave expression. "Give this to your beloved," he said softly. "But be warned, the consequences of your actions may be more than you can bear." With a heavy heart and a sense of dread weighing upon his soul, Claude took the potion and fled into the night, his mind racing with thoughts of Marie and the fate that awaited them both. And so, as the moon cast its silver glow upon the sleeping village of Montreuil-sur-Mer, Claude Gueux made a fatal decision that would forever haunt him, sealing his fate and that of his beloved Marie in the darkness that lay ahead. Chapter 5: The Weight of Guilt. As dawn broke over Montreuil-sur-Mer, casting a golden hue upon the sleepy village, Claude Gueux returned home with a heavy heart and a burdened soul. In his hands, he carried the potion that he hoped would save Marie, but his mind was consumed by a gnawing sense of guilt that threatened to devour him whole. The event of the previous night weighed heavily upon Claude's conscience, each step he took echoing with the weight of his fatal decision. As he approached the humble cottage he shared with Marie, he felt a sense of dread wash over him, for he knew that their lives would never be the same again. Upon entering the cottage, Claude found Marie lying pale and still upon their bed, her breath shallow and laboured. With trembling hands, he knelt beside her and gently lifted her head, pressing the cool glass of the potion to her lips. "Drink, my love," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "Please, drink and be healed." Marie stirred at his touch, her eyes fluttering open to gaze upon him with a mixture of confusion and gratitude. With a weak smile, she accepted the potion and drank it down in one swift gulp, trusting in Claude's love to guide her through the darkness that threatened to engulf her. For a moment, there was silence in the cottage, broken only by the soft rustle of leaves outside the window. Claude held his breath, his heart pounding in his chest as he waited for the potion to take effect. But as the moment stretched into eternity, he felt a sense of despair wash over him, for he knew that his actions may have been in vain. Hours passed, each one dragging by like an eternity as Claude watched over Marie, his heart heavy with guilt and regret. He prayed to whatever gods may be listening, begging for mercy and forgiveness for the sins he had committed in the name of love. And then, as the sun reached its zenith in the sky and the world outside stirred to life once more, Marie's eyes fluttered open, her cheeks flushed with color and her breath steady and strong. In that moment, Claude felt a weight lift from his shoulders, replaced by a sense of relief and gratitude that threatened to overwhelm him. "Thank you, Claude," Marie whispered, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you for saving me." But even as Marie spoke those words, Claude knew that the price of her salvation had been paid with a heavy toll. The weight of guilt that had consumed him since the moment he made his fatal decision remained, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked within his soul. In the days that followed, Claude watched over Marie with unwavering devotion, tending to her every need with a tenderness born of love. But try as he might, he could not shake the sense of guilt that lingered within him, a shadow that followed him wherever he went. As Marie recovered from her illness and life in Montreuil-sur-Mer returned to normalcy, Claude found himself grappling with the consequences of his actions. He knew that he had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed, and that the guilt he carried would be his constant companion for the rest of his days. But amidst the darkness that threatened to engulf him, there remained a glimmer of hope, the hope that Marie's love would be enough to redeem him in the eyes of the world, and that together, they could overcome the weight of guilt that threatened to crush them both. And so, as Claude Gueux stood at the crossroads of redemption and despair, he clung to the belief that love would conquer all, and that no matter how heavy the burden of guilt may be, it could never extinguish the flame of hope that burned bright within his heart. Chapter 6: Behind Bars. As the sun dipped below the horizon and cast long shadows over the tranquil village of Montreuil-sur-Mer, Claude Gueux found himself ensnared in a web of fate from which there seemed to be no escape. The consequences of his desperate actions had finally caught up with him, and he now stood before the unforgiving jaws of justice, destined for a fate far worse than any he could have imagined. In the cold light of dawn, Claude was shackled and led away from the only home he had ever known, his heart heavy with the weight of guilt and regret. The streets of Montreuil-sur-Mer, once familiar and welcoming, now seemed to mock him with their empty silence, a silent witness to the tragedy that had befallen him. As he was transported to the prison that would become his new home, Claude's mind raced with thoughts of Marie and the life they had once shared. He wondered if she would ever forgive him for the choices he had made, for the pain and suffering he had inflicted upon them both in the name of love. But amidst the turmoil of his thoughts, there remained a glimmer of hope, the hope that somehow, someway, he would find a way to make amends for his sins and reclaim the life he had lost. As the heavy iron gates of the prison swung shut behind him, Claude was plunged into a world of darkness and despair. The air was thick with the stench of sweat and fear, and the sound of clanking chains echoed off the cold stone walls, a constant reminder of the fate that awaited him. Inside his cramped cell, Claude was left alone with his thoughts, his mind a whirlwind of emotions. Guilt gnawed at his conscience, tormenting him day and night with memories of the choices he had made and the lives he had destroyed. But amidst the darkness that threatened to engulf him, there remained a flicker of hope, the hope that he could find redemption in the most unlikely of places. As days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months, Claude forged unexpected bonds with his fellow inmates, united by their shared struggles and their determination to survive in a world that seemed determined to break them. Together, they found solace in each other's company, offering support and camaraderie in the face of adversity. But even amidst the camaraderie of his fellow inmates, Claude could not escape the weight of his guilt. Each passing day served as a painful reminder of the life he had left behind, of the love he had lost and the choices he had made. And yet, amidst the darkness that surrounded him, there remained a glimmer of hope, the hope that one day, he would find a way to atone for his sins and reclaim the life he had lost. With each passing day, Claude clung to that hope like a lifeline, his determination unwavering in the face of despair. And so, as Claude Gueux languished behind bars, his spirit unbroken and his resolve unwavering, he clung to the belief that even in the darkest of times, there was still light to be found, and that no matter how heavy the burden of guilt may be, it could never extinguish the flame of hope that burned bright within his heart. Chapter 7: Bonds of Brotherhood. Within the cold, stone walls of the prison that now housed Claude Gueux, amidst the harsh clang of iron bars and the heavy tread of guards' boots, a remarkable transformation began to take place. Despite the bleakness of their surroundings, the inmates forged bonds of camaraderie and brotherhood, finding solace and strength in each other's company. In the dimly lit corridors and cramped cells of the prison, Claude found himself surrounded by men from all walks of life, men who had been driven to desperate measures by poverty, injustice, and circumstance. Yet, despite their differences, they were united by a common goal: survival. As days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months, Claude grew to know his fellow inmates as more than just prisoners. They became his confidants, his companions, his brothers in arms in the battle against the oppressive forces that sought to crush their spirits. Together, they shared their stories, tales of hardship and adversity, of dreams deferred and lives shattered. They found solace in each other's pain, comfort in each other's struggles, and strength in each other's resilience. In the darkest of hours, when despair threatened to consume them, it was their bond of brotherhood that sustained them. They leaned on each other for support, offering words of encouragement and acts of kindness in a world that seemed determined to break them. In Claude, his fellow inmates found a leader, a man of courage and conviction, whose unwavering spirit inspired them to defy the odds and fight for their rights. He became a beacon of hope in the darkness, rallying his comrades to stand together in solidarity against the injustices they faced. But amidst the camaraderie of their brotherhood, Claude could not shake the weight of his guilt. The memory of Marie haunted him day and night, a constant reminder of the choices he had made and the lives he had destroyed in the name of love. Yet, even in the depths of his despair, Claude found solace in the bonds of brotherhood that he had forged with his fellow inmates. They offered him forgiveness and understanding, reminding him that he was not alone in his struggles and that together, they would weather the storm. And so, as Claude Gueux stood shoulder to shoulder with his brothers in arms, his spirit unbroken and his resolve unwavering, he knew that no matter what trials lay ahead, they would face them together, bound by the unbreakable bonds of brotherhood. Chapter 8: A Glimmer of Hope. Within the confines of the cold, oppressive prison walls, where the days stretched on like an eternity and the nights were filled with the haunting echoes of despair, Claude Gueux clung to a flicker of hope that burned bright within his heart. It was a hope born of love, nurtured by the unwavering belief that no darkness could extinguish the light of their shared dreams. As Claude's days behind bars turned into weeks and months, he found himself sustained by the letters that arrived sporadically from Marie. Each missive was a lifeline, a connection to the world outside that reminded him of the love and support that awaited him beyond the prison walls. In Marie's words, Claude found strength and solace, her unwavering love serving as a beacon of hope in the darkest of times. Through her letters, she painted vivid pictures of the life they would build together once he was free, a life filled with love, laughter, and endless possibilities. With each letter that arrived, Claude's spirits lifted, his resolve strengthened by the knowledge that he was not alone in his struggle. Marie's love was a constant source of inspiration, driving him to defy the odds and fight for his freedom with unwavering determination. But amidst the hope that blossomed within him, Claude could not shake the weight of his guilt. The memory of the choices he had made and the lives he had shattered weighed heavily upon his conscience, threatening to extinguish the flame of hope that burned within him. Yet, even in the depths of his despair, Claude clung to the belief that redemption was possible, that he could find a way to atone for his sins and reclaim the life he had lost. With each passing day, he worked tirelessly to better himself, seeking solace in the small victories and moments of joy that punctuated the monotony of prison life. As the seasons changed and the years passed by, Claude's hope remained unshakable, a beacon of light in the darkness that surrounded him. Through the trials and tribulations that lay ahead, he knew that he would persevere, fueled by the love and support of Marie and the unwavering belief that a better future awaited him on the other side. And so, as Claude Gueux stood on the threshold of a new day, his spirit unbroken and his resolve unwavering, he knew that no matter what obstacles lay ahead, he would face them with courage and determination, guided by the glimmer of hope that burned bright within his heart. Chapter 9: The Injustice of Society. As Claude Gueux languished behind bars, a silent witness to the injustices of the world, he bore witness to a truth that cut to the very core of his being, the truth that the scales of justice were not balanced, that the rich and powerful reaped the rewards of privilege while the poor and marginalized suffered beneath the weight of oppression. Within the confines of the prison walls, Claude saw firsthand the cruelty and indifference of a society that valued wealth and status above all else. He watched as men and women, driven to desperate measures by poverty and desperation, were cast aside and forgotten, their voices silenced by the deafening roar of inequality. The inmates of the prison, Claude among them, were but pawns in a game played by the wealthy and powerful, their lives deemed expendable in the pursuit of profit and power. They were treated as little more than animals, subjected to harsh punishments and cruel treatment at the hands of their captors. But amidst the darkness that threatened to engulf him, Claude found solace in the solidarity of his fellow inmates. Together, they dared to defy the oppressive forces that sought to crush them, standing united in their fight for justice and equality. Through their shared struggles, Claude came to understand the true cost of injustice, the toll it took on the human spirit, the lives it destroyed, and the dreams it shattered. He saw how poverty and desperation drove good people to desperate measures, only to be met with harsh punishment instead of compassion. Yet, even in the face of such injustice, Claude refused to lose hope. He knew that change was possible, that the power of the people could overcome even the most entrenched systems of oppression. With each passing day, he worked tirelessly to raise awareness of the injustices he witnessed, speaking out against the inequalities that plagued society. Through his words and actions, Claude became a voice for the voiceless, a champion for the downtrodden and marginalized. He refused to be silenced, even as the forces of oppression bore down upon him with all their might. And so, as Claude Gueux stood on the front lines of the battle against injustice, his spirit unbroken and his resolve unwavering, he knew that he was not alone in his struggle. Together with his fellow inmates and countless others who dared to defy the status quo, he would continue to fight for a world where justice reigned supreme and all people were treated with dignity and respect. Chapter 10: A Rebellion Ignites. Within the bleak confines of the prison walls, where the cries of the oppressed mingled with the clank of iron chains, a spark of defiance began to flicker in the hearts of Claude Gueux and his fellow inmates. Fueled by the injustices they witnessed daily and driven by a desire for change, they dared to dream of a world where the voiceless would be heard and the powerless would rise up to claim their rights. As whispers of rebellion spread like wildfire through the prison, Claude found himself at the forefront of a movement that would shake the foundations of society to its core. Together with his comrades in arms, he plotted and planned, laying the groundwork for a revolution that would send shockwaves through the halls of power. Their cause was just, their determination unwavering. They had seen firsthand the injustices wrought upon the poor and the marginalized, and they refused to remain silent any longer. They were united in their fight for justice, bound together by the unbreakable bonds of brotherhood and shared purpose. As the day of reckoning drew near, Claude and his fellow rebels steeled themselves for the battle ahead. They knew that the road would be long and fraught with danger, but they were prepared to risk everything for the chance to change the world. And so, when the fateful day arrived, they rose up as one, their voices ringing out in defiance against the oppressive forces that sought to keep them down. They refused to be cowed by fear or intimidation, standing tall in the face of adversity and daring to challenge the status quo. The rebellion that ensued was swift and decisive, catching the prison guards off guard and sending shockwaves through the corridors of power. Claude and his fellow rebels fought with courage and determination, refusing to back down in the face of overwhelming odds. As the chaos of battle raged around them, Claude felt a sense of exhilaration coursing through his veins. This was what he had been born to do, to stand up for what was right, to fight for justice and equality, no matter the cost. But amidst the fury of the rebellion, tragedy struck. Lives were lost, sacrifices made, and dreams shattered in the blink of an eye. Yet, even in the midst of despair, Claude and his fellow rebels refused to lose hope. They knew that their cause was just, and they were prepared to continue the fight, no matter what obstacles lay in their path. And so, as the dust settled and the echoes of battle faded into the distance, Claude Gueux and his comrades in arms stood victorious, their spirits unbroken and their resolve unwavering. They had ignited a spark of rebellion that would burn bright for generations to come, inspiring others to rise up and join the fight for justice and equality. Chapter 11: The Price of Freedom. In the aftermath of the rebellion that had swept through the prison like a wildfire, Claude Gueux and his fellow inmates found themselves standing on the precipice of freedom. Their victory had come at a heavy cost, lives lost, sacrifices made, and dreams shattered, but amidst the rubble and wreckage, they dared to hope for a better future. As they emerged from the smouldering ruins of their former prison, Claude and his comrades in arms were greeted by a world vastly different from the one they had left behind. The air was thick with the scent of change, and the streets buzzed with the fervor of revolution. But even as they celebrated their hard-won victory, Claude knew that the fight was far from over. The price of freedom was steep, and they would have to pay it dearly if they were to build a better world for themselves and future generations. For Claude, the price of freedom was measured not in gold or silver, but in the sacrifices he had made and the lives he had touched along the way. He had seen firsthand the toll that injustice took on the human spirit, and he was determined to do everything in his power to ensure that no one else would have to suffer as he had. But as Claude and his fellow rebels set out to rebuild their lives in the wake of the rebellion, they soon discovered that the road to freedom was fraught with challenges and obstacles. They faced prejudice and discrimination at every turn, their status as former prisoners marking them as outcasts in the eyes of society. Yet, even in the face of adversity, Claude refused to be deterred. He knew that the fight for justice and equality was far from over, and he was prepared to do whatever it took to ensure that their hard-won victory was not in vain. Through his tireless advocacy and unwavering determination, Claude became a voice for the voiceless, a champion for the downtrodden and marginalized. He worked tirelessly to raise awareness of the injustices that plagued society, shining a light on the struggles of the poor and the oppressed. But even as Claude fought for a better world, he knew that the price of freedom was not just paid by those who fought for it, but by those who had been left behind. He carried with him the memory of his fellow inmates who had lost their lives in the rebellion, their sacrifices a constant reminder of the cost of freedom. And so, as Claude Gueux stood on the threshold of a new day, his spirit unbroken and his resolve unwavering, he knew that the price of freedom was steep, but he was willing to pay it, no matter the cost. For he believed with all his heart that the struggle for justice and equality was worth fighting for, and that together they could build a better world for themselves and future generations. Chapter 12: Legacy of Courage. As time marched on and the echoes of the rebellion faded into memory, Claude Gueux's legacy endured as a testament to the power of courage, resilience, and unwavering determination. Though his life had been marked by hardship and struggle, he had emerged from the crucible of adversity as a beacon of hope for future generations. In the years that followed the rebellion, Claude dedicated himself to the cause of justice and equality with a fervor that knew no bounds. He tirelessly advocated for the rights of the oppressed, using his voice to speak out against the injustices that plagued society and to shine a light on the struggles of the marginalized. Through his actions, Claude inspired others to stand up and join the fight for a better world. He became a symbol of hope for those who had been cast aside by society, showing them that even the humblest of beginnings could give rise to greatness. But Claude's legacy extended far beyond the realm of activism. He was also remembered for his compassion, his kindness, and his unwavering belief in the inherent goodness of humanity. He touched the lives of all who knew him, leaving an indelible mark on the hearts of those he encountered. In the village of Montreuil-sur-Mer, where Claude had been born and raised, his memory lived on in the hearts and minds of the people. They spoke of him with reverence and respect, recounting tales of his bravery and his selflessness in the face of adversity. And in the wider world, Claude's story became a rallying cry for those who dared to defy the status quo and challenge the forces of oppression. His name was whispered in hushed tones in darkened alleyways and bustling marketplaces, a symbol of hope for the downtrodden and the marginalized. But perhaps Claude's greatest legacy was the inspiration he provided to future generations. His story served as a reminder that no matter how dire the circumstances, no matter how insurmountable the odds, courage and resilience could triumph over adversity. In the annals of history, Claude Gueux's name would be remembered as a beacon of hope for all who dared to dream of a better world. His legacy would endure as a testament to the power of the human spirit and the indomitable will of those who refuse to be silenced in the face of injustice. And so, as Claude Gueux's story faded into legend, his legacy lived on, a timeless reminder that even in the darkest of times, there was still light to be found, and that the legacy of courage could endure for eternity.